former Secretary of State and Fox News contributor Mike Pompeo. So, Mr. Secretary, we have got some competing narratives going on here. Pfizer and Moderna saying looks like Americans are going to need a third shot of vaccine booster in order to protect against COVID and the variants that we see popping up almost weekly. And the WHO at the same time is saying put the brakes on, want to declare a moratorium on that. Who, Mr. Secretary, should we be listening to?
Well, first things first, America's been incredibly generous. We invested the wealth to create it through Operation Warp Speed to create these vaccines that have now been distributed all across the world. We've sold them and provided them to countries all across the world. So no one should for a moment think that we're being stingy or greedy for ourselves. Second, there's no reason to listen to the World Health Organization with respect to anything. They corrupted themselves. They became political at the very front end of this now, goodness, over a year and a half ago. So to take advice from the UN or the WHO on this issue is a joke. It's worthless. The right answer is if, in fact, Pfizer and Moderna are right and we do need booster shots to take care of people, we should let individuals make their own choices. And if the vaccine is here and it's available for Americans, we ought to make sure that we take care of Americans. That will help our economy and, in turn, the global economy, and create the very wealth needed to make sure that the whole world can get what they need when the time is right.
Mr. Secretary, Jen Psaki was asked about this in the White House briefing room. She said this, listen.
We feel that it's a false choice and that we can do both. We announced just yesterday that we hit an important milestone of over 110 million vaccines donated to the world. That is more than any other country has shared combined. We also, in this country, have enough supply to ensure that every American has access to a vaccine. We will have enough supply to ensure if the FDA decides that boosters are recommended for a portion of the population to provide those as well.
So the White House says false choice, we can do both. We can administer that third shot of Moderna if and when it is needed, that booster, and we can continue being generous with countries throughout the world. Do you believe that to be the case?
Well, I'm a little concerned. I agree with most of what Jen Psaki said. I may want to reconsider just a bit. Look, I think that's right. I think we can achieve this. I think we can deliver for America, the American vaccines. I'm very confident we can do that, and we have been incredibly generous already. I expect that will continue. So whether it's purely a false choice or not, we need to make sure and get this right here at home. That should be the American priority. Certainly with vaccines that have been funded by American taxpayer dollars, that ought to be the priority.
We heard a very dire warning, Mr. Secretary, from Benny Gantz, the defense minister in Israel, that he believes that within not too long from now, 10 weeks perhaps, Iran might have enough uranium-235, enriched uranium, to be able to produce a nuclear weapon. And he is urging tangible actions be taken by the world to prevent this from happening, including possible military action. Your thoughts?
Well, we could see this coming from a mile away, John. Our administration understood how to deter Iran. This one has appeased it at every turn. They continue to provide wealth and resources. They allowed billions of dollars to be released so the Iranian regime could have that money to do exactly what you're seeing happen. Build out their terror proxies, build out their capabilities in the nuclear region. Know this, to the extent that the administration is weak, this puts Israel in a very difficult position. I heard what General Gantz said. They may well have to take military action. I promise you, Israel is going to do everything it needs to do to defend itself. The United States can prevent Israel from being in this place. We can go back to the policies that we had, the enormous pressure we had put on the Iranian regime. This will release Israel from having to make this very difficult decision, and will provide stability not only for Israel, but for our Arab friends as well. There's not a person in that region, from Saudi Arabia or the Emirates or Israel, who thinks that the American policy is right. We should go back to the way the Trump administration thought about putting real pressure on the Iranian regime.
Speaking of agreement with Jen Psaki, we'll see if that's the case with this one. We'll return to the White House to hear what she had to say on returning to the JCPOA. Listen.
Our view is that every single challenge and threat we face from Iran would be made more pronounced and dangerous by an unconstrained nuclear program. So put another way, constraining Iran's nuclear program by returning to the JCPOA will put us in a better position to address these other problems.
Did she get that one right?
No, she got that one wrong. So we're back on terra firma. Look, they don't understand. Ask everyone in the region, the people who are impacted most directly, the Israelis, the Saudis, the Emiratis, the Kuwaitis, the Bahrainis. Ask the Iranian people themselves. They wanted us to do what made sense for America and for them, to put pressure on the Iranian regime, to deny them the capability to ever move down a nuclear path. and to build out a coherent strategy that put the Iranian regime on notice that their terror campaigns simply weren't going to be permitted to continue, to go back into that deal, the deal that we withdrew from, because it basically gave Iran a green light and a clear pathway to a nuclear weapons program, is sheer folly.
So, Mr. Secretary, one of the other stories out there today is that in and around the G20 meeting in Japan in 2019, you apparently, I don't know if it was given to you directly or not, were given as a gift from the Japanese government a bottle of whiskey that was fairly rare. It was worth about $6,000, which the State Department now says it can't find. Any idea where the whiskey is?
The great case of the missing whiskey bottle. Look, a couple facts. I have no idea. I assume it wasn't ever touched. It never got to me. I have no idea how the State Department lost this thing, although I saw enormous incompetence at the State Department during my time there. Had it been a case of Diet Coke, I'd have been all over it. But I had no idea that this was missing, that there was an investigation I hear about. This is all just crazy talk. I have no idea where this thing is. I'm happy to, if they want to give me a holler and help me, give me a holler. I'm happy to try and help them find it.
Maybe they will. I don't know. That's an interesting response.
Sadly, I wouldn't know the difference between a $58 bottle and a $5,800 bottle. But anyway,
especially with a little Diet Coke.
When it comes to Diet Coke, he is an aficionado. Mr. Secretary, good to talk to you today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you all.
Thank you.